Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Among the Ashes podcast. We're your hosts, Wes and Chris. We hope you enjoyed part 2 of Consumed by Cali with Scott Brown. We're about to get into part 3 of that. But before we do, if you don't mind, if you're listening to us on Spotify, go ahead and hit that follow button. If you're checking us out on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave us a comment. It really does help us out. We really do appreciate it. Now, everybody sit back, relax, and get ready for part 3 of Consumed by Cali with Scott Brown.
I got my first DUI. Right? Going to pick up my dad.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable. At home, kicking it with my boys. Maybe had a couple of beers because, again, I wasn't a drinker. Right? So my dad calls the house. Man, I'm drunk up here. A couple of buddies came in. I haven't seen them in a long time. We just got really hammered, and there's a cop in the parking lot. Can you come get me? I was like, yeah, no problem. So I pound that last of that Heineken, you know what I mean, and get on down the road. It wasn't 3-4 miles to where he was at. I roll up in the parking lot. No cop, you know. So I pull up. I go inside. I got to pry him away from the bar because he don't want to leave, you know. Mm-hmm. I was like, Dad, I got folks back at the house, man. You know what I mean? So
you called me to come
you called me to come get you. Let's go. So here I am, got him thrown over my shoulder. Right, I walk out to the truck, put him in the passenger seat, right? And by the time I'd gone in the bar and tried to drag his butt out, the cop popped back up in the parking lot. So he's watching me tote him out of the bar, pour him into the passenger seat, right? Go around, get in the driver's seat. And he followed me from that parking lot 3.5 miles to about less than a quarter of a mile from the apartment. Pulled me over.
Well, this whole time he never saw you go in.
No, he never saw me.
Or if he did, you know, he didn't realize that you were only in there a couple of minutes. He's thinking, I got 2 drunks here.
Yeah. I got one guy, the better guy. At least he's driving. You know, he done poured pawpaw in the front seat. And then
my uncle told me one time that he and my dad had been fishing or something, and they were both pretty drunk. And he said I shouldn't have been driving, but we get pulled over, and the cops, you know, your ID, all that stuff. And they get me out of the car and they're testing me or whatever. And they looked at my dad and he said, won't you step out? And my dad said, nope. He said, why not? He said, because the minute I step out, I'm drunk in public. Mm-hmm. I'm not drunk in public in this car. I'm not getting out, you know? So, I mean, I know they're just doing their jobs, but.
Oh yeah. No, he definitely followed me.
Yeah.
All the way down. And if I was swerving or anything, he'd pulled me over instantly. Right. You know what I mean? But I wasn't. And he comes over to the car, and I roll down the window. Of course, what does he smell?
Yeah.
Alcohol. I mean, I got it on my breath because I probably had 2 beers, you know. But I smell. Dad was hammered time. They were drinking scotch or bourbon or something, you know what I mean? But yeah, he was hammered down. So gets out, makes him do the field sobriety test, you know what I mean, all this other stuff, and I pass it. Passed the field sobriety test, but he didn't know I wouldn't take a blood test, and they didn't have the breathalyzer, I don't think, then. So he says, I'm not going to let you drive the car. I'm not going to let you get back in the car. They tried to get my dad to drive it, get behind the wheel of a vehicle so they could pull him over.
Yeah.
You know? So I said, no, let me pull it over in the parking lot of the gas station right there on the corner. Literally, you turn that corner, go up 2 blocks, our apartment was right there. You know, so turns out they make Dad walk. So Dad's staggering, and it was only a couple blocks, but they made Dad walk home like he was. He could have fell over in the street. I mean, it's like the Parkway or something. You know what I mean? It's just there's 3 lanes either side. So, so that I didn't even know. Don't know nothing, no letter, no notice, not even a court date, nothing, right? Not even a ticket. Because a DUI is not a moving violation in California. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they try and get Dad to drive the truck, but I said, no, it ain't happening. And I'm in the back of the police car trying to kick the windows out because they're trying to get him in the vehicle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just royally pissed me off. They took me down to drunk tank. Dad bailed me out next day. You know what I mean? Well, no notice, no nothing. I'm picking my son up from daycare. And I'm holding, you don't pull on the other side of the street. If the street's going this way, you park on that side. If you don't, you're up to something no good if you're parked on that side. Anyways, I'm just trying to run in real quick, get him, and get back out. Well, the cop pulls up, pulls me over. There was a failure to appear. I never received a notice on the DUI. So they took me to jail and went to court. Figured out at that point in time, the blood alcohol count was 0.10. Right? Now it's 0.08, I think, or whatever. But
something like that.
Anyways, my blood alcohol level was 0.12. So that was what, 2/1000 over that. I mean, but
which could have been a misreading, could have been there's a lot of things in there.
Could have been anything because when they took me, I passed field sobriety. Remember? So I passed the field sobriety. They took me to the hospital and drew blood. And I told them my fear of needles. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that, I mean, I could have, if I had the money and a lawyer, I could have got out of that one so easy. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. DUI school, everything else. And so I'm going through divorce with the ex-wife. And they put this all down in the papers, even though I had not been charged. Mm-hmm. Or I've been charged, had not been convicted yet. Yeah, so it looks really bad. Anyways, it just went down from there. But I was separated, not divorced. It was only 88. So I got the DUI, got back together. I'm in DUI school, rehab, all this other stuff, So we got back together, Sarah was born. So we're going through divorce. And I got busted. So in California, you get a second DUI within 7 years. It can be an automatic felony, depending on the charges. Right. Reckless or just DUI, whatever. That was number 2 in 7 years. They consider that a DUI. Mm. Controlled substance, possession of a controlled substance, trafficking, controlled substance. So here I was. Had only been to jail a handful of times for drunk and
facing some serious stuff.
3 to 5 in San Quentin. Yeah, I'm this long haired. I'm
3 to 5 minutes there.
Yeah, I'm this long haired boy from little California. I'm not ready for the big boys. And Charlie Manson was there at the time. Oh wow. So I mean, at least I would have got to meet him.
Wow. But I mean, I don't know.
So yeah. So I had and I'm slinging. I'm doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm in jail. I can't get out. I spent some time in county for that, and you know who bailed me out of jail and paid for my attorney?
What's that, grandma?
My dealer.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Because I was too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was.
I'm making him too much.
Yeah, I was doing really well for him. And so I got out, but the thing was, the condition was 18-month drug diversion program. I had to do 150 consecutive NA meetings.
Oh wow.
150, whether I did them 1 a day, 3 a day, whatever, 150 consecutive.
How long does a typical NA meeting last? An hour?
Yeah, an hour, hour and a half. I can't remember. It's been way too long.
It's too many hours.
But it's too many. Hey, my name is Scott.
Well, I mean, is it? But
and I wasn't not an alcohol guy, right? But so the thing was with the program. And my attorney was a complete snake, dude. I mean, he was the best. The guy had an ounce of meth and scales and names with amounts by him, and he got him like 6 months and a $5,000 fine. That's the kind of attorney that guy was, because he's going to find something that create a reasonable doubt or get you to, And they painted me, I am a choir boy. Never had a juvenile record, military service.
So better call Saul.
First time I got the DUI, I wasn't separated. Second time I get busted, I'm in divorce. You know what I mean? So all this, and then just, they dropped the felony to a misdemeanor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I got my county time served. Still got drug diversion program. Had to take antabuse. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, it keeps you from drinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Makes
get
you sick or
violently
something.
ill.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad. Well, I take it twice a week. I figure out when I could take it and still be able to drink, at least get some kind of, again, mind you, not a drinker. Right? So, do all this, and the marriage is beyond repair. I'm, you know what I mean? I've screwed that up so bad. It's just, forget about it. I may have been able to do something, but, it's the whole time we were together with both kids. We didn't go to church. But every Sunday morning, I put those kids on the bus.
Yeah.
They went to church.
They went.
That was our only day of peace and quiet without the kids. You know what I'm saying? So we'd kick it out on a patio, maybe grill something, you know what I mean? Have a few beers. But, and the whole time, I never forgot to mention that she's allergic to alcohol. Mm. So she can't even drink a sip of wine. One shot would just annihilate her physically, And thank you, Jesus. Jason got the same thing, so he couldn't even drink in college, man. You know what I mean? But I had to remind him, dude, you will die.
Yeah.
You got to let them know for reals, you will die.
Yeah.
But anyways, so we put them on that bus, and they went to church every Sunday, like you said before. Train up a child in the ways of the Lord, and I'll never depart from it.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
Well, and that's not to say they're not going to stray. They're not going to. No, they're not going to have their ins and outs.
And Jason, no, I shouldn't even say Jason, but he is kind of consumed by California, and Sarah was she was just amazing woman of God, and played in the worship band, high school, college, she's just amazing. So it never left her.
Yeah.
They're a little consumed right now, I think, by life in California and the things that they're dealing with, because they're still there. But they'll never depart from it.
Well, so here's the thing.
That's my comfort.
Here's the thing that everybody needs to realize, and I'm not knocking church. Like, church is important, but it never says to send your kids to church and they won't depart.
Right.
You train your children to love the Lord, and you train your children to have faith in the Lord. And a lot of that comes from church.
Yeah.
But a lot of it comes from you too, or maybe it didn't come from you in y'all's situation, but it can come from you, And that's the thing is,
that's what I'm saying.
Instilling that inside of them.
They were the surrogate in that situation. So I just truly believe that the Lord knew.
Yeah.
Well, they're not getting to him.
Yeah, Scott can't do it right now.
I will.
But
I'm
gonna
provide a way.
It.
Yeah, I will make sure that they know. Yeah. And thank God for that.
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure.
And that's it. Just got so. I was in a program, and I knew I didn't want to do drugs anymore. I was pretty sure. Pretty sure that I knew that nothing
good's coming from it.
Nothing's good coming from it. I've been busted twice, so it ain't no good. So I met somebody else, and right away she's like, "Oh, you got to come up with me. You don't need to be at your dad's. You're getting your kids." She had a little boy, same age as my son. I thank God for him.
Yeah.
He's a good kid. Well, he's not a kid, he's a grown man.
Yeah.
But still close with him. I'm the only dad he's ever known.
Right.
That's what he considers me.
Mm-hmm.
I thank God for him. But so I met someone else, and I was like, I was being consumed by California. I couldn't get a step up, man. I couldn't get a leg up. No matter what I tried, I'd quit doing drugs. I'd quit drinking. You know what I mean? I just could not working my butt off.
Yeah.
Every day. I just could not get out of the way. And I couldn't get a break. anywhere. So I told my girlfriend at the time, I said, I'm going back to Alabama. I'm going to go back there for a couple months, chill out, maybe try and find something, if I can find a job, and, you know, get things going. If I can go out there and get set up, if you want to come back with me, cool. If not, her whole family was there. She didn't know, you know,
Mm-hmm.
she probably couldn't even point out Alabama on a map.
Right.
She was born and raised in California.
Right.
And that's just the way folks are there. They don't.
Yeah, they don't venture out.
Yeah, other than
they're happy.
maybe Oregon, Washington, you know, maybe it's just they don't go past the, you know, past the West. So,
Well, you've got good weather. You got the beach. You got cities. I mean, you got country. There's a lot out there.
And you can drive to, you know, Vegas in a day, and you know, Oregon, Washington, Seattle. I mean, and the Northwest is up there too. You know, Montana and Wyoming and Yellowstone, and so I came back out here, and I was just like, man, the peace instantly. Yeah, the people, the attitude, just the South, man.
Just slower way of living.
It just people, the South, period. The Bible Belt, folks talking about the Lord. Mm-hmm. You know, standing at the grocery store, getting a 12-pack of beer in my hand, and ladies talking about, oh, I don't know how we do it. We're so blessed. The Lord just keeps it. You know what I mean? Just like, you know. So I went back and I said, look, okay, I'm going back. Getting the rest of my stuff, and I'm going back. You want to go? We'll go. You know, otherwise I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I love my kids. I know I'm going to leave them, but I gotta
be here for them.
I have got to take care of me. Selfish, it may sound, but I needed to spend some time on me. Yeah. And work on it. You know, otherwise I wasn't going to make it. Because I was having crappy thoughts, you know what I'm saying? I just wasn't. I mean,
just wasn't who you were yourself.
Yeah, no, I was just like I'd rather. I remember walking through the woods, and I wrote this down on a letter that I wrote Sarah before I left. I would walk through the woods during hunting season with my Walkman on, praying with camo, praying somebody made a mistake. I was too cowardly to take my own life. Yeah. But I would walk through the woods in hunting season hoping that somebody shot me. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's where I was. And
you know, I think, let's touch on that just a second. Like, I think more people have, I don't know if they go to that extreme. I think a lot of people do, but I think more people have those thoughts than they're willing to admit. And I know me personally, it's like, there's been times, how far could I get before anybody would know I'm gone? Yeah. Or, you know, if I was just to happen to drift over and get hit by this semi and it'd take me out, then everybody would be better off. Yeah. You know that's a lie. You know that's not the truth. Oh, You're creating more grief than what you would ever face on earth. You're creating more grief for those people around you, your kids, your wife, your whatever, you know, your mom, your dad. But we all face those challenges, and number one, I think in this country, and I said it with a previous show, I don't think we focus enough on mental health in this country, whether that be true mental illness where you're schizophrenic, you're bipolar, whatever, or whether it be from drug and alcohol abuse or from trauma as a child or even as an adult. We don't put enough emphasis on the fact that, hey, it is okay to be screwed up. Yeah. What is not okay is not doing anything about it. Right. When you keep it all in, and because you can't keep it all in, it's just going to snowball. It's going to make it worse and worse and worse the more you think and dwell on it. And you may have, on the outside looking in, everybody look at your life and it's like, what's he got to be upset about? Yeah. You know? Yeah. But it's those thoughts that the enemy sends, I feel like, but some of it may be, you know, self-inflicted that we create. But we get to a place where we don't know how to talk about it. We don't want people to think we're weak, especially men. We don't want people to think we're crazy, you know, all these things. And then you end up in a situation like you're in right there where, hey, I know this is dangerous, but if I don't know what happens, I don't know what happens and it's not my fault.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And if we would put more emphasis on the fact, especially as men, come to me and talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the whole premise for this podcast, Among the Ashes. I took that name from Job 2, where it says that Job sat upon his ash heap and he's scraping his sores and he's feeling sorry for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody keeps coming by telling him, man, you must have really pissed God off.
Yeah.
This is your fault. You know, what'd you do? Instead of just sitting down and saying, hey, bro, I don't know what's going on. Your fault, God's fault, who's that, whatever. I don't need to know. We don't need to talk. If you want to, great.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm going to sit right here with you until you come through it, you know. And at some point, you will come out from among the ashes and things will be better. One thing I learned reading that is Job petitioned God 38 times before God ever spoke. 38 times.
Yeah.
And the Bible says Job's a righteous man.
Yeah.
So if it took God 38 times to finally say, okay, why are you... I mean, it's like a little kid pulling on daddy's jacket, you know?
Yeah.
38 times. Not that God wasn't acknowledging him. God acknowledged him from the start whenever Satan said, hey, have you considered, you know, let me do this? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, you can do it. He won't turn from me. You can't kill him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Other than that, have your way, but he's not going to turn from it. God considered you right then in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
But if it took...
Because he already knew. He already knew he was not going to give
and
up.
that's the thing.
No matter what.
God knows us, you
Yeah,
know, and I am by no means a righteous person. So who am I to try to rub my lamp and get a wish granted by God, you know?
Yeah.
But when God finally did speak, and I'm paraphrasing, you can go read it. It's Job chapter 38. God says, where were you when I created the earth? Where were you when I did this, this, and this? Matter of fact, where were you whenever I created you and I gave you all the things that you have? I did that. So if I did that, I can surely handle this. Sit back, shut up, quit whining, and realize I've got this. Look around and see what you have. You may have lost a lot, but look around and see what you've had your entire life.
I've heard comedians say the real punishment was leaving him with his friends and his wife and
100,
not taking all
100%. 100%.
All she kept saying was just curse him
and die.
Curse him. Yeah, you'll die and you'll be with your ancestors and all this other stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like God never forgets us, but we get caught up.
Yeah.
You know, and if we, number one, would be more willing to go to people and say, hey, I'm struggling. I'm guilty of this. Hey, I'm struggling. But on the flip side, if we would be more willing as the ones trying to be there for people instead of saying, well, let me offer you some advice, just saying, hey, man, talk. Get it out. I'm going to listen.
Like
if you want to hear my response,
something.
great. But if you don't, I'm here.
Yeah. If it just talk to somebody, man. I mean, anybody just to say, hey, man, I'm, you know, I may not even know you.
Right.
But hey, man, let me let you know I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I am not okay.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be okay.
Right.
I ain't going to lie to you. I ain't got to sugarcoat nothing.
Right.
And I wish I had somebody to say that to. My brothers weren't mature enough and old enough to understand me. Hell, I didn't even understand me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I didn't have anybody, but I'd already attempted it once. You know what I'm saying? I was too chicken.
Yeah. Thank God.
To do it again. Thank God, because, you know, at that point back in the South, I got my hands on some guns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hunting and stuff like that. So, you know, when I came back, I knew I could find some peace. Right. And as far as that was concerned, you know what I mean? The drugs, I didn't have any connections, you know, still think the alcohol's the worst drug on the planet. Lie of the friggin' devil.
Well, and that's the thing
all day
too.
long. You know?
And it is, but we take alcoholics and drug addicts and we group them into a category of they're automatically no good.
Yeah.
If I've got a person in my life that says, you think I want to be this way?
Yeah.
Do you think I want to steal from my mom and steal from other people?
Yeah.
It's not about, I don't want to do that, but I can't come to you and say, hey man, I got a problem because you judge me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm not really ready to deal with my problem, but I don't want to steal from you. Can you give me the $20 to get my fix? I can't come to you and do that. And I'm not saying that we should do those things, but in their mind, it's not about necessarily getting high. It's about just not feeling what they're feeling,
Right.
whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally. But we offer no help. We automatically just write those people off and think, well, they're just a scummy drug addict, or they're just a no good alcoholic.
Yeah.
And really, they're good people.
But
Deep down, they're good
alcohol's on every corner,
Yeah.
every store.
Yeah.
You know, in California,
It's so
it's at the
accessible.
Walmart.
Yeah.
There's no state store.
Yeah.
So California, there's you go into any convenience store, pints, fifths, halves,
Yeah,
whatever,
it's
whatever
right
you want.
there.
And it's the most accessible, most dangerous thing that should be illegal.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, prohibition, they tried to tell us that once.
Right.
You know, and people went nuts because they
Well, I think the same with all these gummies and THC that stuff should not be sold over the county.
No,
I'm not against.
I mean,
I'm not against. I think, in my opinion, I think marijuana is probably better than alcohol if people are going to use it. The problem is it's going to lead to something else.
No,
in my opinion,
that's a podcast for another time.
Yeah,
we need to do that because I'm a Cali guy.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I grew up out there, and I know people. That are benefiting every single.
Oh yeah,
100% for medicinal purposes, man.
And that's where I'm
Genesis
going.
chapter 1. God gave us every plant and seed for our consumption. He didn't plan for us to pound up coca leaves into white powder, sniff it up our dang noses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The Indians had it all right, man, until we killed all of them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And
the herbs, the things that he put here were beneficial.
Yeah.
You know, you can go out in your yard and find stuff to treat your wound.
Right.
I mean, it's just just
and
like that. But
that's where I'm at. It's why do we legalize one and not the other?
Yeah.
And we have yet to learn. And when was prohibition? The 40s, 20s, 30s, 40s,
yeah,
30s.
Yeah.
So we've yet to learn in 80 plus years.
So you got the Great Depression, and you bring on cut down. So people are just dying.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything, you can't buy anything, and you take alcohol from them. I see why people are pissed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, we want to take away the one thing that probably is the worst and keep one thing that could probably benefit you. And I'm not saying it should be accessible in a grocery store.
Yeah.
But there's so many benefits to people with Parkinson's.
Well, there's a state store.
Yeah.
There's a state store for alcohol.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Do the same.
Well, I know they're going to do, and same with marijuana, is they're trying to figure out a way to make money off of it. They don't care about the legal benefits of anything. It's the same with pain pills or depression medicine, things. They've figured out a way to give that to you legally to make money off of it, but all it does is make it worse.
Yeah.
And they know, in my opinion, they know if they legalize something like marijuana, it'll cure that depression. It'll cure your aches and pains, and there's a lot of medicinal benefit from it. Things that I read, and but they know that they can't. They can't figure out a way. They're making too much money on everything else to give you something beneficial.
If they could have taxed that in California, it'd be in a lot better spot 20 years ago than they are right now.
And I'm not saying that just sit around, smoke pot, and get high. I'm not saying that at all.
That's not.
But I'm saying we have put too much emphasis. We've created our own monsters.
Yes.
We've created our own monsters through alcohol and prescription medications, and it's a slippery slope. Oh, yeah. I mean, you'll be addicted before you know it.
Yep.
And not even mean to. Yeah. But anyway.
So I get back to I'm in Alabama, and I've managed to put some of that stuff behind me, and I'm kind of doing better, And then the problems I was having with the kid's mom, not being able to see the kids, not being able to talk to the kids. Through all of this, no matter what situation I was in, I love those kids with my entire heart, the very soul of my being. I have, always will. Nothing could ever change that. And I hope that they completely understand that one day. You know what I mean? That I still just deeply, madly, deeply burn for those kids. And it about tore me apart. I was drinking myself to death almost every day. I get home and drink till I went to sleep. I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't see him. It was just, you'd taken half my heart and cut it out, and I was expected to live with half of it, because I was no longer concerned about their mom or anything else, but them, they were now a part of me, and that part was gone, and it was devastating. And for, oh gosh, it was probably 18 months before I saw him. She let him come out. She let him come visit if I paid for the tickets.
Yeah.
And let her parents see him half the time.
Of course.
But
so, hey, whatever. I get to see my kids.
I'm cool. I don't care. I'll pay and get him a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
So, but Mom had been going to church. And she'd been going to church for, I don't know, since before Tony left for college. So she was going to a little church, and she kept saying, because we were living there. Well, the girlfriend finally came out, so she came out, we're together, she's working, everything else. And Mom always kept saying, you're not going to live in this house without being married. You're not going to live in this house without being married. Mom, I'm married already. I don't want to get married again. She said, well, you're going to have to find someplace else to go then, because I'm in church. What do my church folk going to think? That's what she said. You know what I mean?
Right.
What are they going to say to me? You got them shacking up in your house. Right. You condoning this? So, and then she starts on me. You got to come to church. You got to hear this preacher. I'm like, Mom, hey, you know how many preachers I've heard?
Yeah.
She's like, no, you don't understand. You got to hear this preacher. I said, well, what's so good about this preacher? She says, he's an ex-cocaine addict, alcoholic. You have got to hear him.
Yeah.
Right? So I start going, Plus we plan to get married. So now Mom says, oh yeah, they get married and, this and this. So less than 6 months later, we're married in Mom's house. And, but I start going to church. And, I mean, he was doing everything but pointing at me, you know what I'm saying? Just saying, you, and it was just, man, it started convicting me. And then I remember I just kept trying to drink myself to death. And remember one night I stopped, I was about halfway through a bottle of tequila. And I stopped. And I just had some music on. I was just listening to music, and I just went to bed. And before I went to bed, I prayed that prayer, and I said, God, please, you've got to get me out of this. I can't do it by myself. I can't do it. You know how much I hurt. You know how much, what's going on right now. I can't do it anymore. I'm either going to die or change.
Yeah.
And I want you to come in my heart and change me. And man, I'm telling you what, bro. I'm telling you what, man. I was still smoking cigarettes and just whatever. But man, it was like the sun was shining. The next day, man, it was just the birds were singing, the sun was shining. I mean, and it was just it was a new
totally
world.
Different.
It was a new world, man. It was totally different. And I remember calling Brother Harold, man, and like, dude, I did it, man. I did it. And then a couple weeks later, went to church, and he said, if you got something you need to get rid of, man, come down to the altar. So I reached down in my pocket, pulled out my pack of Marlboro Reds, and I said, that's what I'm going to do today. So I went up to the altar and laid them on the altar, right there on the altar in front of me, knelt down, prayed, and gave up cigarettes.
Yeah.
So here it is a few months later, and I'm talking to some of the kids and stuff, and kind of telling them, sharing with some of the youth and stuff I was going through. And I remember studying, I was praying, and God said, I want you. And I was like Moses, man. I was like, no, dude, I stutter, and you got the wrong dude. Right. You know what I mean? And I called my pastor, and I said, man, I believe the Lord's called me to youth ministry. He said, well, you got to claim that, brother. You have got to let everybody know. So that Sunday, I didn't even tell my wife. I mean, I told her what I wanted. That's kind of what I wanted to do, but I didn't feel like I was completely, just the Lord said,
Yeah.
you're it. Not audibly, of course, but,
Right.
So, yeah, I got up next Sunday and said, the Lord's called me to ministry, So, I believe that's what I want to do. And, she didn't like it too much because she always said, I don't know if I can be a pastor's wife. She had not accepted Christ at that point, So, and I know what the word says about believers and non-believers and in your household and stuff like that. So I'm just planning on God working that out. I'm doing what I can. Every time she gets mad at me or something like that, I start my Bible, read my Bible.
Yeah.
Just used to piss her off even more.
Right.
So I was still singing, doing all this stuff, And my mom's got a customer, one of her beautician customers. And she's like, about her daughter's about to get married. She said, well, how's the things going? She said, oh, we got the flowers, we got the caterer, we got this, we got that, but we don't have somebody to sing for the wedding. And mom's like, oh, my son sings. They're always volunteering me for this stuff.
Yeah, my
right?
mom, anytime she meets anybody who needs a funeral or a wedding, it's, my son's a pastor. So
oh, yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate
that's
volunteering.
That's the one thing I want to do is weddings and funerals.
Oh, yeah. So she said, okay, next time I'll be in next week, and I'll bring a cassette tape of the songs they want to sing, right? Well, I'm a rock singer, metal singer, pop, mess around with R&B because the Lord blessed me with, a decent voice.
That very wide voice.
Yeah, baby. So the two songs she brings to my mom, dude, are It's Your Love from... what's the married couple, Faith Hill and
Faith Hill and Tim McGraw.
Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. That's one was like, first of all, how am I going to do a duet? And what about the girl's voice? The other one was Tracy Bird. It was no accident. Keeper of the Stars.
Okay, yeah.
Keeper of the Stars, right? So she brings her two country songs. I ain't never hit a lick. Don't listen to any country. You know what I mean? I'm just like, she's like, baby, you got to do this. They're going to pay you. They're going to feed you. You can go up. So I start working on the songs, and I get one of Tony's buddies from the Fine Arts School, his best friend. He's going to play and do a harmony with the Tim McGraw and Faith Hill song and just play the guitar while I sing the Tracy Bird song. Well, word gets around, Scott's going to be singing a couple of country songs, right? So... dude, there were more people at that wedding.
That is fun.
To hear me sing country songs than came to that. Kept saying, "Are you with the bride side or groom side?" Oh, we're here to sing, hear the songs. So, yeah, that's it. But it was cool. So, they had like a buffet style reception afterwards. I sang the songs, and it was just they hit. It was Mom's like, "You missed your calling.
Yeah,
you totally
should have been a country artist.
Should have been a country singer." Yeah. You know what I mean? And that may not totally be out of the question.
Yeah,
but
I'm up.
Anyways, I start talking to the pastor as we're going through the buffet line, and I was like, "Yeah, this is my kind of share my testimony, and God's called me." And he was so impressed. He got my phone number, and he said, "I'm going to call you next week." I said, "Okay, cool." At the meantime, I've got this little. I'm claiming right now that I was the first basement. I had my Friday Night Live in the basement at this little Presbyterian church in Little Shenandoah. And I had 2 kids, and we ended up with I can't tell you how many, but I mean, that was my ministry, you know what I mean? But I was into that. So I just started doing it. We had maybe my 2 cousins and a couple of their friends. Yeah. So we really didn't, we're just building it. And so he calls me and he says, here's the deal. He said, this church is going to send you to seminary in Arkansas. They're going to put your family up. This church is going to pay 70%, and the Presbyterian Association of America is going to pay the other 30%. You're going to get a full ride to seminary Well, the family puts you up in their house. The kids can go to school. You know what I mean? Right on, dude. I'm driving back home. I don't think my wheels touch the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I am so high. This is it. This is what I want to do. You know what I mean? This is what I believe God has called me to do. So I'm psyched. I get home and I'm just beside myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, you won't believe this, man. It just what I've been praying for is happening. This God is, you know. And she said, I don't want to be a pastor's wife. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, pastor's wife, you got to be a certain way, you know. But during that time, from the time I got saved to the time this happened, she has accepted Jesus. So now she's a new believer, you know. So and so did her son. And but she just was not. I brought this girl from California to Alabama, and now I'm going to throw her in the middle of Arkansas with me going to school, her not working, her not, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, I'm hindsight, I'm like, I understand. But then I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm getting a full ride. You know what I mean? And then he wanted me to be the youth pastor of his church. So not only am I getting a full ride, I got a gig when I get back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's, I mean, this is to me, I wanted to drop kick everything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going by myself.
It's frustrating, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I prayed about it, and in the meantime, I started my own business, you know, carpenter business, doing really well. Really well. I made more money in 1998 than I think I've ever made in a year of my entire life.
Yeah.
And, but I had to make that decision. Now, I made a commitment to her in the eyes of God. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To love and cherish,
absolutely,
and to hold.
Absolutely.
Know? So here I am in a conundrum, in a catch-22. I got a commitment that I made to God. And also, he's giving me an opportunity. He's opening a door that I'm really thinking about jumping through by myself.
Yeah.
You know? So I just kept praying about it, And I you know what I wanted to do.
Sure.
You know what I wanted to do. But I was like, you know what? If it's going to split us up and tear everything else up, and that's not.
And I don't think, you know, I know people that would argue like, well, you should absolutely do what God's telling you to do. No, here's the thing. I made that commitment to that woman before God's calling me or opening the door for me, you know. And I've always said, if ministry ever got in the way of my marriage, I would back away. Even if she went completely left field, I want nothing to do with God anymore. Yeah. Because my first commitment is to honor that commitment that I made before the eyes of God. Yeah. And God, if you want me to do this, whether the door's open or not, if this is truly you, then you've got to bring her back. You know, you've got to refocus her, because if not, then I'm going to do what I can do to hold us together. And I really, truly believe that I'm not saying it's more important than God calling you, but I think the importance there is, number one, obedience is always better than sacrifice. Me being obedient to my commitment to her is better than me having to sacrifice what I want to do. You know, what's going to make me happy. Because in the long run, if I say, God, I'm honoring this commitment, I know this is what, I know you're opening a door, or I feel like you're opening a door, and it's really what I want to do, but this is more important. I think that's the choice God would want us to make, you know.
And then if I made that decision, you know, and okay, this guy's twice married, twice divorced, and now, you know, he can't even hold that together. Right. He wants to lead a church.
Exactly.
Or a youth.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I just, you know, I prayed and felt like, you know, I mean, this is what I got to do. So I said, okay. You know, unfortunately it didn't last.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Well, but who's to say that other would have either, though? Because, I mean,
Right.
if you had went and she leaves you, I mean, I've got a friend that was a youth pastor here locally at a very large church. He comes home one night and everything's fine. Him and his wife do what married couples do. They're hungry. He goes to the store to get some food, come back, and there's a note. I can't do this. I can't be a youth pastor's wife. I can't do this anymore. I'm faking it.
Yep.
He goes to the church and he's like, hey, this is what happened. Well, it's not your fault, brother. We love you, blah, blah, blah. You still got a job, da, da, da. Fast forward a couple of weeks, he gets called before the council of the church, so we can't have somebody who's divorced leading our students.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And that's exactly the way that would have went. Well, I say it's exactly the way. More than likely, that's the way it would have went.
But that situation, and I don't think, I think I made the right decision. And staying with her, I had to, that's one of the roughest calls I've ever made, calling that pastor and saying, you know what, dude, I can't, And he said, man, I see what you're faced with right now. I'll pray for you, man. Right. I said, I appreciate that, dude. But that was the hardest call because I was already loading my bags in my mind.
Oh, dude, I've had opportunities to go back to youth ministry. My wife be like, I just don't think that's the church.
Yeah.
And it's like, but hey, they're willing to, I can do what I want to do and get paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is the church. And she's like, I don't think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to that. You know what I mean?
And from that point on, it was already, of course, you got to factor in the new Christian.
Yeah. Full of piss and vinegar.
Yeah. And that was full on, but I thought it was like, okay, after a year, I'm going to kind of peter out. I'm going to kind of get my bearings. And no, dude, I'm talking about, he just like riding a boat.
Yeah.
He just hit the gas, dude. And I was gone. I was on fire. My business was doing good. Everything, she was working part-time because I was making so much dang money, building. And it was just astounding what God was doing in my life and how strong my faith was. I had people asking me to pray for them, pastors. Dude, would you pray for me?
Yeah.
Forget about it. I know you guys are going through a tough time, but no, I want to pray for you. You pray for me.
Right.
It was just really powerful. And I got to the point where I felt like I could call on the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, come. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like just feel cold ice water rolling from my body. I was just so close to God at that point, probably closest I've ever been in my entire life. And I am dying to get back there, dude.
Yeah,
I am so dying to get back there, man.
But you know what? I think there's a difference in when you first get saved. It's just like a baby.
Yeah.
When you first get saved, mama cradles you, calls you, takes care of you, feeds you, keeps you warm, makes sure you're good. Well, at the point you can start doing it on your own, mama backs off some. Mm-hmm. And she's still there.
Yeah.
But she backs off a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's up to us. I see it with my kids now. Like, I'm close with my oldest son. Like, he's my buddy growing up. We were peas in a pod. He was with me every day. I worked for the church. He's with me every day. But the older he's got, the more he's kind of gone his way, which he has to do. Mm-hmm. And here I am, I'm here when you need me.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with God. Like, he can come to me and say, hey, Dad, let's go hunting. And heck yeah, I'm going.
Yeah.
But if he's, hey, Dad, I'm going out with my girlfriend. Okay, buddy, I love you. I'll see you when you get back.
Yeah.
That type of thing. And we think it's like, well, I wish I could be there again. You can. But there's a difference in my opinion, there's a difference in newly giving your life to Christ and seasoned living and walking with Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, I don't mean that like God pulls away. He never pulls away, but we adjust. We begin to.
No, we pull away.
We pull away.
We pull away.
We do pull away.
Yeah, he never does.
But we adjust to it. It's not, we don't need all of his attention. Or we think, let me back up. We think we don't need all of his attention anymore. And at that point, it's so new to us that we want all of his attention, and then we begin to back away. But we can definitely get there again,
So I woke up one day. And I've everything but straight hearing from God audibly. It's God, you know what I'm saying?
See, I'm convinced God sounds like Urkel. You know what I mean? No, we all think he's like,
no, absolutely not.
He's like, hey guys.
No, he sounds like Barry White on steroids. Scott. You know what I'm saying? But, so I wake up one morning and he's like, I want you to go back to California. And I was like, seriously, God? Are you kidding me right now? I mean, I got this business. I was at my because of the situation with the church I was at, I was stepping on some toes at the church, calling out what it's God is God's.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I can't use the basement anymore. So I started going. I started going to halfway houses and having little groups at different places and little festivals downtown and parks and stuff, and have my, you know what I mean? So there was a bunch of kids, man. We were just really grooving, and they would seek me out. Hey man, you got to meet this guy. He's freaking dynamic, you know? So, I don't want to say I had a following, but I mean,
Sure.
there were folks that wanted.
I know what you're saying. It was the same way with me.
They wanted that. They wanted to understand how I was so screwed up.
But changed.
But just radically changed, you know? And so I was like, I got that going on. My business is kicking right now. I'm making more money than I ever have in my whole life. We were going to church and had found our church, New Covenant, which was in Pinson, the big Solid Rock now.
Yep.
You know, and I was doing great there. I was teaching 4th, 5th, and 6th grade children's church. I mean, was in a men's group, you know, I mean, we were going all over the place. Went to Promise Keepers in Washington, D.C. I mean, it was just, life was just, boom, it was going, man. And all of a sudden he said, hold up. I want you to go back to California. And I'd seen my kids one more time after that, about another year or two. They came back out again, stayed for another 3 months. So I'd seen them 2 times in this 7 years. And so I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. You know, there's no way. And the whole time she's welcoming it anyways because she misses her family.
All right.
She'd only been out a couple of times. Excuse me. And so yeah, man, we loaded up the truck and moved to Beverly. You know what I'm saying? So I sold most of what we had and loaded up my truck. And truck was full and a U-Haul behind it, and drove it all the way to California. It was an 82 model Ford F-150, seafoam green and white, man, Krager chrome rims. I mean, had my logo on the side, my green, seafoam green fish, Carpentry Services. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just, I was representing. Yeah. Jesus loves you on the back window, you know what I mean? But drove it back out there, and God was like, dude, you can't even have this in the state of California. Like, what are you talking about? This motor's got 30,000 miles on it. It's a brand new friggin' motor. And he said, ain't got no smog, no EGR valve, none of this other crap. He said, even if I give you money for a down payment on something else, he said, I got to go to Nevada to sell this friggin' thing. Right? So he wound up giving me like $2,000 for it. I had more than that in the motor that I just put in it 6 months earlier, you know, and it was a beautiful truck. Only Ford I ever had, and only one I will ever have. Yeah. By the way. But
I like my Ford now, but my next one will be a Dodge or Chevy.
Yeah.
Chevy.
Yeah. So
sometimes you just can't get it out of you.
Yeah, I'm back out there. I get hooked up with a church, a good church with a big youth program. They got a deaf church. I mean, they're just, you know, they're really going on.
But they don't never listen to you, do they?
No, you can't. You know, and
you don't say much.
You just don't understand what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, you know, your hand gestures, they just don't understand.
My buddy's mom was deaf and his dad was mute, and she bought him a pair of gloves for Christmas one time. She told him that he talked too much, and then he bought her a radio for Christmas one time. She looked at him and just gave him this look. And they were so great.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that's one thing, and it's never too late to learn. But sign language is such a beautiful thing.
So I knew the alphabet, and I would talk to her. I would spell things out. Yeah. And she told me one time she would write for me, and she said, you don't know what that means to me, that you're willing, to communicate with me the way I communicate.
Yeah, Debbie's trying to learn, and she's encouraging Sipsy to learn.
Well, now's the time she should learn.
Oh, yeah. Sure. So got in with this cool church, man, and got a great job. the owners of the company was he was Catholic, and his nephew was Catholic, and they started a business with a truck, and him and his nephew, and built it into a $4 or $5 million a year. Not a huge company, but it's it. And so I was on fire, man. He's like, in the interview, he said, 2 reasons I hired you. And I said, what's that? Because at the time I was like, back then you didn't put that you're an active member in your church. You didn't put I was a pastor. You didn't put any of that crap on you, because California folks don't give a rip.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't care if you went to church or not.
Right.
That's matter of fact, you don't want to mention that, because that would be like,
probably keep you from being
yeah,
there.
probably keep you from being there. So anyways, I was work with youth groups and back to remember my church, and church is an important part of my life, because you give a little summary of, in your resume. And he said, I saw that you're involved in your church and you're former military. He said, I look at your work experience. He said, you're exactly what we're looking for.
We're looking for. Yeah.
And best job other than where we're at now. I mean, that was the best job that I'd ever had.
Yeah.
Other than where I'm at now.
Well, so I tell people all the time about Jeffrey Machine. I mean, I should probably say where we work instead of where we work, but like, I have my gripes and complaints. I think that's just normal. But that church, that place has treated me better than the church has treated me in a lot of ways. It's crazy to think that, but.
Well, if you consider the insurance, and this will be a part of the end, close to the end of the story to where we come up current. Insurance has saved my life twice. Yeah. 2 times. Yeah. And maybe 3. Yeah. So I mean,
cancer with my wife, diabetes with my daughter.
Yeah.
Creek, dude.
FMT, dude. That's going to be an interesting story. Yeah. They got to hear that on a podcast, because people probably have never heard of that before. Yeah. You know what I mean? But and at the point after I got out of the military, almost every job I ever got was because military was on that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It followed me wherever I went, and got a great job. Bought my first house. Of course, I'm back with the kids, and here's the thing: is that the kids didn't know that I was coming back. I was just like, well, why tell them, get them all and get their mom all, you know what I mean? I didn't want to do that. I'm just going to roll up and just be in town, Yeah. Well, we trying to find out where they lived right around the house. And I see Jason and one of his buddies playing outside. And I literally am in the truck with the U-Haul on it. We had just rolled into town. I was like, man, I got to know where they live, So I had the address, of course. Mm-hmm. So he didn't recognize. I rolled up and I said, excuse me, do you know where this is? And he was like, oh my God, Dad. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, we're back in their lives. And then that seemed to kind of start to mend that situation back. Because as kids, they never fully understood why I left. They feel like I left them. They feel like I left their mom. Mm-hmm. They feel like, there was somebody else. You know what I mean?
They don't really know all
that. And they didn't have a clue. And, it was time to get back in their lives and help them understand. Mm-hmm. And by living the way I should be living. Yeah. And I came back and I was a different person. And started going to church with them and just being a part of their everyday lives, man.
for you.